Welcome along to the second of our masterclass sessions today. We are joined by one of the, one of house music's kind of most respected producers, one of the most in-demand remixers, I think, of all time, possibly. We're very, very privileged to welcome along MK. So let's give him a round of applause. And, I think probably the first thing I should say is, congratulations. I think the number one possibly tomorrow.
Possibly. I'll know tonight. Like midnight, I don't know, I think.
Midnight, countdown begins. So I thought I'd kind of ask you first of all about your sound, that kind of original 90s kind of, house sound is probably, more on trend now than it's really ever been. Especially, given the kind of number one that's coming about. Yeah. Is there anything that you think's kind of brought it back to the forefront?
I don't know, because I took a break for like 10 years. So yeah. I basically stopped in like 96. And then I got back into it in like 2009. And for those, 11, 12, 13 years, like I didn't listen to house music at all.
Right. And what was it that kind of brought you back to house music?
Jamie Jones and Lee Foss.
Right. The Hot Creations guys kind of.
They did a show in Miami, and out of nowhere they called me and asked me if I wanted to DJ. And I had never DJed before.
Right.
And I was like, I didn't even know who they were. I'm like, and I talked to my management, and they were like, you should do it. Like they're cool guys.
Right.
So I called my brother. I'm like, they want me to DJ, but I can't DJ. Can you help me? And that's kind of where it started.
Okay, and that was how long ago is that now?
2009.
Right. Okay. I also wanted to ask, given how long you have been making music and been very successful at it, what are the changes, from the early days when you were making that kind of sound to the like the Storm Queen remix or the stuff you've been doing with Hot Creations? What's your kind of production setup like, and how's it evolved over time?
In the 90s, I used a lot of outboard gear. I used a lot of analog stuff. But then over the years, I started just changing to digital. Using laptops, you can do like, your whole setup in a laptop or a computer. But since I've been doing music the whole time, like doing pop music, I still knew, how to make music digitally. It was an easy transition, I guess.
And were there, kind of certain things that you were doing in the pop world, production techniques or anything that you've brought, from there to the stuff you do in house now?
No, it's all the same, really. Yeah. It's really just chord progressions. You just use the same chord progressions, but use them in a different format.
There's one thing that I really wanted to kind of, ask you about is the MK dubs.
Yeah.
Was there, a kind of, how did that kind of come about? I mean,
the dubs came about from doing remixes. I would get a lot of remixes requests, and sometimes the songs wouldn't be so good.
Right.
And so I would have to like get myself into it, and I would basically take the vocals and just try to make a new melody.
And was it the case that the kind of straight remixes that you were doing, they weren't something that you felt would work maybe in the club or something?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Right.
It's like you hear a song, it usually was a really cheesy pop song. You listen to it, and you're like, how is this going to work?
Yeah.
And you just kind of make something out of nothing.
Right.
Kind of.
And it was always starting with the vocal? Was that the kind
Yeah,
of
that's how I do it. I mean, I was just talking to Kevin Saunderson, and he's the first person I saw, do a remix where he stripped all the music down.
Right.
And he would just use the vocals. And I pretty much, when I saw him do it, I thought that was the norm. So when I started doing remixes, when I would get the parts in, I would just not even listen to the music. Most of the time, I don't listen to the original at all.
Right.
And I would just listen to the vocals and just kind of make a new track around it.
So you just take the stems without hearing the original?
Yeah. A lot of times, I don't like to listen to original.
Yeah. I guess it influences the kind of vibe.
Yeah. I don't want to know the key of the song from the original, so I just kind of go from the vocals.
And we should probably talk about Kevin. I mean, for those of you that don't know, you kind of came up under him, right?
Yeah.
And how did that kind of influence the way you work? And
I mean, that's how I learned.
Right.
I was 16 at the time, and I started working with Kevin, and Kevin was like, in Detroit, he was like God.
Right.
So it's like I based what I did kind of around Kevin.
Okay. And were you working like in his studio?
Yep, in the studio. He lived he lived downtown. I lived in the suburbs. I would drive to his studio every day and just go there and I would get there, he would be sleeping. And I would just
You
go
were
in
the eagle one.
Yeah. I just
And,
go and start working.
So how did you two originally meet? How did you hook up?
I did a song called First Base, and Kevin licensed it for his Techno 1 compilation. And from that point, Shay Damier was Kevin's A&R, and Shay called me, and I met with Shay, and then he was like, you should come work with us.
Right.
And I was like, all right, cool, let's do it.
Then
I quit college. I went.
Right. So kind of bringing it up to now, I was gonna ask you about like the Storm Queen remix, for example. That's something that's kind of been around for a little bit.
Yeah.
When you finish something like that, do you instantly feel this is something special? I've got something here.
I mean, Storm Queen is it's a weird story because I think I did the first mix in 2010.
Right.
And that Simon Dunmore, after I did the thing with Hot Creation DJ with them, Simon Dunmore called me, and he was the second part of getting me back into the music.
Right. Okay.
And Simon said, I want you to remix something. And he was literally going through his computer. He's like, and he said, how about this song? It was Look Right Through. I'm like, yeah, cool, I'll do it. And it was, a small fee. I did 2 remixes. I think the Morning Dub, and I forgot what the other mix was called. And it did pretty well, underground. And I would play it out, and it got a good response. So then, playing live, I thought, like, let me do another remix that's not for sale, that I just play live. Right. And that was the Dub 3. And I would play it out, and the response was insane. So I think I was never going to give it to Simon, but after 3 months, I gave it to Simon. I said, you should probably put this out. I think when I gave it to Simon, he didn't really like it. He was like, yeah, it's cool. But, he put it out, and then he saw the response. And it was really organic. That's what I like about that one so much. I didn't do it for money. I didn't do it to try to get in charts or nothing. I just made a remix at home. I heard it. I really, really liked it. And the last time I felt like that was probably when I did Nightcrawlers, Push Fling On.
When you do look at taking on a remix, obviously there was a point where you're getting a lot of remix requests. What were the kind of criteria that you were taking on board?
Well, with me, it usually goes to my management first. Like, they deal with, who it is, who's the artist, is it a respected artist. And then when I listen to it, I listen just for the vocals.
Right.
For the melody, just to kind of see what I'm up against.
And that would be, deciding whether you're going to take this on.
Yeah.
And do you need to have a clear idea of where you're going to go with it?
Yeah, I usually do. I mean, I've only turned down a couple mixes, and it's usually if it's really, really, if the BPM is really bad, if the vocals are really bad, if the singer's bad, I turn it down.
Yeah. And that style, of working with the vocals, I guess back in the day you're working with like an MPC or something like that?
I mean, I've always been a tech guy. That's the other reason why I got into doing music. So I use everything. Anything that came out, I used.
And
any equipment.
What are you kind of using right now? What's your...
Right now I'm using Logic, Pro Tools. I have Ableton. I use it a little bit, but not so much because I'm so used to Logic. Mm-hmm. Use a lot of plugins. I have a couple outboard pieces. I use Machine a lot. The reason I got in using Machine is in the 90s when I did my dubs, I used a Akai S1100 for my samples, and I can use that with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
And then when I got back in the remixes, I didn't know what to do my dubs on because the S700 was obsolete by that time.
Yeah.
And I bought a machine, and for the first 6 months it sat there because it was too confusing. But then I'm like, all right, I should probably figure this out. And then I finally figured it out, and then that's like my go-to piece now.
Right. So that's become really integral.
Yep. I have a travel one at home, well, 2 at home, 3 at home. Yeah.
And I guess you do travel a lot. So
Yeah.
are you working on the road quite a lot?
Yeah, I do. I've done a couple remixes I've done on the road. I did a remix for Sub Focus.
Okay.
That I did on the road. I did a song called Ghost in the System with me, Lee Foss, and Annabelle. It's our group called Pleasure State. I did on the airplane. I prefer to work at home.
Right.
But sometimes, I'm forced to kind of work wherever I am.
And I know that you work with, mentioned Lee Foss there.
Yep.
You work with Jamie and Lee quite a bit.
Yeah.
How does that kind of dynamic work, in the studio?
It's interesting because, they're DJs first and producers
Yeah.
second, or I'm a producer first. So I think the first time I worked with Jamie was about 3 years ago. I was at Jamie's house and we did a track, and Jamie played me a couple things that he wanted to kind of make a song similar to it, and it was like a 90s track.
Right.
I was like, that's it? So,
Do that in your sleep.
yeah. Literally, yeah.
And do you have like, does one take control of a certain area of production or something like that?
Yeah,
Or-
we just kind of vibe it out. It's like usually we'll get together and we'll just hang out for a minute, an hour, or just, just talk, watch TV, eat,
Yeah.
and just kind of gradually get into the production. I'm like that with everybody, actually. I never really like to just walk in the studio and just get to it.
Okay, cool. I'm sure that you guys have got some questions as well. So let's open it up. Who wants to go for it?
I find that with music production, that mix down is the hardest part of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely, absolutely.
find arrangement, creating the sounds that I want, I can do that.
Yeah.
Within, if I've got a sound vision in my head,
Yeah,
I can make that sound.
Yeah.
But when it comes to making them all work together,
gel together, yeah.
one mix, I find that is the most frustrating.
It is. Even after, 20 years of doing it, that's my main problem. Even today I'm like, I should go to engineering school.
I mean, but the relationship between bass, kick drum,
Yeah.
and then all the other sounds is like, the hardest thing. So what would you,
I mean, at some point you just have to kind of let it go. You're just like, does it sound right? And you just kind of go with it. I have that problem every single mix I do. Literally every mix I do, I'm like, gosh, no. You're
secret.
fucked. Yeah.
How do you get inspired to do new tracks? When you want to do new tracks, how do you inspire?
Well,
If you get blocked, how do you?
that's why I made the dub, because a lot of times I'm blocked a lot. So what I do when I do a remix, I'll use an example. I'll find the key of the song, I'll lay chords, not necessarily chords I'll use in the mix, but just chords, and I'll take the vocals and I'll chop them I'll just use any type of vocals that inspires me to make a melody. And once I get that, then I'm inspired, and then I start over. I just kind of make my own inspiration.
So you would take a vocal, get a melody out of that, and then
Yeah.
restart from scratch again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Go for it.
Once you've laid down some beats, patterns in Machine, what's the next most useful feature that you find?
From Machine, really, once I get the dub down and the drums, I'm kind of done with Machine at that point, and I just
Next form, would you bounce that down fairly quickly then?
yeah, pretty much.
And do you find like working with on that? Do you find like working with audio, like bouncing stuff out that kind of it obviously restricts you to a point, so you're kind of committed at that point? Does that work for you?
No. I did music in the '90s. It's different. It's like you go to tape, then you're committed.
Yeah.
Like digital, it's like nothing.
Any more questions, guys? Right at the back.
Yeah, you said you use Logic and
Yep.
Also Pro Tools.
Yeah.
Do you use them both for arranging, or do you?
No, I use Pro Tools for vocals. Although I just ordered that new mixer. It's the S6. Is that the Avid one? Have you seen that? I just ordered one. So I'll be using Pro Tools more next year. But right now I use it for vocals. I don't arrange in it though.
Any more?
Eddie Folks. Eddie Folks, ladies and gentlemen.
I saw your video, Mr. Kitchen, from how to make a beat, I believe.
From Machine.
Machine to track.
Oh yeah.
So, the question is, I love the drum beats because they're so simple but so effective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My question is there a swing or is this a natural feel that you don't quantize your bottom beats?
I don't quantize my dubs. The vocal parts I don't quantize.
I mean, like the kick, the hi-hats,
No, those I quantize.
those quantize?
I swing them, but I don't necessarily swing the whole kit the same percentage.
Okay. I'm not trying to steal your groove.
Yeah, you are, Eddie. Yes, you are.
I mean, I have to respect
No. I swing my hats differently than I'll swing, other parts of the song.
Okay, because the process how I went on the video was sweet. How you went from machine to tractor, and I was like,
Well, because on Tractor, I use Tractor when I DJ. So I use three DJs, what they call it, tracks, decks. There's three decks, and I use one remix deck. So I usually take parts of my remix, have the loops, and set up my remix deck. So that's what I'm doing in the video.
and I have one more question.
Uh-oh.
No, because you understand, I respect the man. And you understand, I seen him when he was a young kid. So now the baseline, bro.
Wait, I do have to say this. I did Burning in like '89. Eddie Folks is the only one that liked Burning in Detroit.
Really?
When I first made it. Yeah, he was the only one. I don't even think Kevin liked it. I don't think you liked it, Kevin.
It's the MK baseline, the MK style that transcends.
Oh, yeah.
And how you play your baseline is like how we started it was like in a broken beat style, but you played it like duh, duh, duh. Is that more of from a past history?
Yeah. It's from more just listen to alternative music, listen to everything else but house. I didn't even like house when I made those songs. No, I'm serious. I didn't like house music.
So what were your kind of influences in the early days?
A lot of alternative. I mean, Depeche Mode was my favorite group ever.
Right, yeah.
So I listened to, Depeche Mode all day long.
Cool. Yeah, go for it.
In electricity, what drum machine you use?
I used a machine. But I used that, I went to Lee Foss's house, and Lee played me Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. If you listen to it now, you'll get it. And he said, let's do a track that's like similar to this groove. And so I did the drums kind of like Billie Jean. I just used a couple of drum samples and just made it like,
From that track?
I didn't sample from the track though, but I just made the groove kind of similar to it. Same tempo, kind of, just kind of groovy. But it was a machine.
And any more? Must be some more questions.
Why three machines? Any special setup? Do you use three machines?
Nah, I mean, I'm just used to using it. I actually think it's the best drum machine out. I know Kai has a new one out, but I haven't even tried it yet. But it's like machine, what it does and what they're trying to do in the next couple of years is, if you don't have one, you should probably get one, because I know over the next years they're trying to make it a standalone unit. So if you know it now, then in 3 years, you can it'll be like the new MPC of the 90s.
I wanted to also ask about, DJing. You did mention, when the Hot Creation guys called you up, you didn't know how to DJ.
Yeah.
What are you're using Traktor now to play out?
Yeah. Well, I knew how to DJ, I just didn't want to.
Right. Okay.
It's like I didn't want to carry 10 crates of vinyl.
And now you don't have that problem. I guess you've just got a
I
laptop.
just got a laptop.
How, being on the road and touring that much, what do you see for you going on in the future? Continue to DJ and make house music, or?
Yeah, I mean, just DJing and doing the production.
Do you see going back to the pop world at all?
No, I don't. I don't want to go back. Only because, doing remixes, like Storm Queen, for example, that song maybe 1 or 2 in the pop charts. And that remix was exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I didn't talk to anybody. Nobody said, hey, change this, change, that. It was exactly what I wanted to do. In the pop world, you have managers, artists, their friends, the A&R's friends, the president of the label. Literally, it's like 20 people. So you're making a track for these 20 people, and it's like, it's a nightmare.
And I guess what you want gets taken out of the equation a little
Yeah, I hate it.
bit. Go for it.
Do you use the iMachine app at all to, create basic ideas?
I bought it for that reason, but I don't use it for that. I just kind of mess around, but ideally, that's what it should be used for.
I find it so useful. I'm always writing grooves.
I do, but I never figured out how to save it and then send it to my actual machine.
Do it through iTunes.
Oh, do you? Oh, I did do that in GarageBand though. I did a track on my iPad and then sent it to Logic, and then I have done that before though. But as far as the iMachine, just kind of mess around with it. Uh-oh, Eddie Pokes. I'm doing an album. MK
you
album.
are doing an
Yeah,
album?
Yeah.
Is that what is that on Hot Creations?
No. It's not signed anywhere yet.
Okay.
Only because, for the reason, the whole pop thing is like, I mean, every label's call my manager like every other day, but I don't want them involved.
Right.
I just want to make music the way I want to make it. And then once it's done, then I'll figure out what I'm going to do with it. But right now, I don't want to talk to them.
And how far in the process are you of the album?
Like halfway.
Okay, cool. Well,
I did a track with Duke Dumont the other day.
Right.
I have a track with Shadow Child I did. A couple of things.
and are those kind of collaborations that in the studio together or remotely?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Duke was in L.A. last week. He came to my house. We did a track. And I did 2 or 3 with Shadow Child.
Right. Cool. We're looking forward to hearing it, man. So yeah, massive round of applause for MK.
At Point Blank Online, you've got 2 methods of interaction with your tutor. Firstly, you've got the weekly online masterclass, which is in real time. And then also we've got feedback on your assignments, and that's known as DVR. So the online masterclass is a 1-hour session you get with your tutor every week. You can ask questions about lesson content and get instant feedback, and also demonstrations on the fly from their computer desktop with our streaming technology. DVR stands for Direct Video Response, and the concept is really simple. You upload your Ableton Logic or Cubase project file to your tutor, he downloads it and then pushes record on the screen capturing software and evaluates your work, so basically giving you one-to-one feedback. You see all of the mouse movements and any parameter changes made by your tutor. It's kind of like sitting in the studio over their shoulder watching what they're doing whilst they work. We've found the DVR process has truly revolutionized the way that we teach online, and the results speak for themselves. Book your place on a course now by visiting pointblankonline.net.